Welcome to Films and Stuff with your hosts, Pete Mitchell and Ethan Hunt.
All right, Films and Stuff, we are back. Saturday. That means it's time for a discussion of For All Mankind. What episode are we on now?
I want to say 7, but it could be 6. No.
We are 7.
7, which means we've got 3 episodes left? Or was it 8 and we've got 2 episodes left?
Nope, this is 7, titled
Bring
It Down. Described as a joint mission brings about conflict between crew members. That does not seem at all
an adequate enough word.
No,
description.
Who's writing these? I mean, that's absolutely not right. Okay, should we recap?
Yeah, let's do it.
Basically, where we left off was there was going to be a joint mission between Helios in their powder blue spacesuits and the Russians, who have no equipment. NASA being left out in the cold. And we even see a scene where they're so sad, just 4 people eating their microwaved meals, right? In silence.
Honestly, it was pathetic.
Being left out of this very exciting discovery that the Russians have somehow identified a water reserve beneath Mars, and they're going to drill for water. So, what happens? We start drilling. And of course, Danny, who is addicted to painkillers and overall just losing his marbles, has one job to do. And we'll get into the details of that job.
What a psychopath.
Obviously, he's all coked out or whatever, not paying attention, goes so far as to turn off the communications.
Which was insane.
And not surprisingly, he didn't flip the switch that he needed to flip at the time that he needed to flip it. And somehow the drill bit exploded. Chaos ensued. We see that Ed has been hit by a piece of shrapnel in his stomach. His suit is punctured. At least one other Russian cosmonaut has been injured in his or her arm.
That's right.
And as they're kind of being evacuated back into the Habs, the
ground collapses underneath them, right? And there's a big dust cloud, and that's how the episode ends, basically.
Yeah. Oh, kind of like an avalanche, right?
Yeah. Spoiler alert.
So, and that's it. Then we are left with just kind of the rocks falling, the cloud of dust, and some people make it into the Hab, and some people may not have. So that's on the Mars space side. Back on lowly Earth.
Things are getting spicy.
Yeah, things are getting spicy. Danny's younger brother is somehow involved in a little bit of a mission to steal or sabotage stuff at NASA.
I'm not happy with this. Honestly, I'm not happy with this because...
Nor am I.
NASA is, at the end of the day, still a military organization. It may not be military in the sense that, they go out with armed weapons, but it's a secure government facility, and you have these 3 hippies going through. I'm sorry, but I don't care who your parents are. I wouldn't just let, a kid of 2 NASA astronauts wander through the operations center and do whatever you want, grabbing power bars and things like that, stealing key cards, was it? Or an ID card?
Yeah.
The whole thing just was off for a show that's kind of prided itself on not just good drama, but also relatively good attention to detail. This seems like a bridge too far for me. This storyline in particular.
I think there's 2 things that disappointed me about it. And I agree. The first is just the realisticness of, like you said, letting kind of a college-age kid who is the son of, 2 heroes just kind of randomly bring his girlfriend and kind of mill about. It seems wrong. I agree, And the second part of that, though, I don't like how they've depicted this guy. Like, it just seems very sad to me. You know, his parents, I mean, Gordo and Trace, you know, obviously had like their own like relationship drama, and they both had their own, you know, like character arcs. But by all accounts, they were both pretty good people, and they both died in an amazingly tragic way, right? Yeah. Without question.
And very noble death.
A very noble death, you know? And for them to make now this, I can't even remember. I know Danny, but who's the other kid?
Who, the brother?
Yeah, what's his name?
I can't even remember.
Don't even know. Yeah? For them to make him so weird and counterculture and like diabolical is really, really disappointing to me. Like, it's not nice. I don't want to see that. You know, he doesn't have to be an astronaut, but I really don't like the idea that they make him into this weirdo who's like actively trying to like sabotage what NASA did, you know, hanging out with this dirtbag group of friends who are like minimizing what his parents are doing, and so conspiratorial. It doesn't sit right with me.
And how do you steal the statues from outside of NASA's headquarters?
Yeah. I mean, apart from the fact that they're probably heavy as hell.
Yeah, but...
Yeah, and they've just got a pickup truck.
Let's assume they have a crane with them. That's fine.
I agree. Earth? I mean, if there's one place where there should be like some type of security guard being like, a gate?
There's got to be a receptionist at the front desk in the front of the building, right? I mean, you'd have access to see
I know. It would have been
seems so implausible.
I agree, but not just implausible for no benefit. It would have been something if he would have gone to NASA and he would have like sprayed like graffitied, you know, like liars or fascists or, you know, something kind of like crazy, you know, they'd be like, look at this kid. Like, what is he doing? That's kind of like a rebellious streak that maybe that's an interesting storyline, but I agree with you. Like, stealing these statues, I mean, like, that just seems impossible for more than one reason, right? Physically and just kind of like security wise, and for no benefit. It's not a compelling storyline to me.
It's not. The problem is, I think that you're absolutely right. I think that's the main problem, is that it's not a compelling story, and therefore we're not willing to overlook some of the more basic things. Look, it's not feasible that you'd get to Mars in 2 years. I get that. But we overlook that because it's a compelling story and it's an integral part of the storyline. Here, I mean, this is the character is not compelling. The concept is not compelling. We don't see where this is really going because, okay, he's disillusioned. He's got ennui. Fine. But we don't know why. We don't know what he's thinking. We don't know where it's going to end up. It's no benefit. There's no point.
Can I take a stab at fixing it? Here's my stab at fixing it.
Please.
Yes, he's disillusioned. He's obviously traumatized by both his parents, you know, passing away. You know, everyone thinks that he should be a hero and he's the son of heroes and he's missing his identity. He falls in with like these, let's call them like socialists, right? Either Russian sympathizers or actual Russians, right? Or Chinese or something. And he's kind of like a gangly looking guy. Now this very pretty girl starts to like show him attention and so forth. And they convince him to kind of go in and take a bunch of pictures of stuff, you know, like, and he becomes like their spy, you know, and they push him, and, you know, his now Russian girlfriend, you know, uses kind of like some manipulation, you know, to get him to continue to do these more and more daring things. That at least is something I can get behind, where he's going into NASA, he's taking photos, he's stealing documents, he's asking people about this status or that status. Like, that is at least a little bit more compelling to me, right?
You know what else could work? Is if he's now being portrayed as like this hippie, communist, socialist, whatever, you know, someone who's cutting across the grain, whereas like his brother, Danny, has always been seen as like this army and military hero. He's a space hero. He saved the day, and his brother has kind of been like this ne'er-do-well, lazy, or maybe not lazy, but he's not living up to his potential. And now we're seeing a slow shift in the sense that his all-American hero brother is becoming the all-American villain. And what if he then steps up, right, on Earth, where he's just like, no, what am I doing? I need to straighten out my life. I need to make my parents proud. Like, he sees the statue in his backyard, and he's like, this is not what Gordo and Trace would have done. This is not what they would have wanted for me. Yes. And then, word trickles back to Earth that his brother is now a drug addict. And then obviously in this, I'm sure they're gearing it up that Karen's going to be found out that he had the affair with Karen. That because Ed's going to find out. I think that's the end game now, is like Ed's going to throw him off the mission, and then he's going to throw Karen in his face. There's going to be that thing. So he's going to be, his brother, who was this all-American hero, is going to hit rock bottom if he hasn't already. And his younger brother, the one who everyone thought was like a useless guy, is going to step up and be like, no, this is going to be my redemption arc. I'm going to make sure that the Steven family lineage doesn't go down in history with my brother being such a jackass. And he steps up. And because we've already seen that NASA is not afraid of doing nepotism and putting, people who are clearly maybe less qualified. Yeah. I can all of a sudden see, him going, no, I'm going to be the one who's going to straighten up, and I'm going to go into space, and I'm going to go on to Mars, and I'm going to save my family.
I got to say, that's bloody good, Pete. That's really bloody good. I absolutely see that as a compelling storyline that he pulls his shit together. He goes up to Mars and he bails out Danny. And again, the flip side of that would have been they keep Danny as a straight arrow, who finds out that his younger brother is a spy, right? And then Danny, the patriot, has to make a decision. Like, does he turn his brother in? Does he cover for his brother? Like, you could have played it either one of those ways.
Absolutely. But
I really don't like this episode because of the fact that it just denigrates both of them so much. Yeah? The brother on Earth is just falling in with the wrong crowd and buys into the conspiracies. And can we shift to Danny a little bit? Man, like, that is ugly to watch. I mean, it's really brutal. Yeah. And not even from an entertainment perspective, I feel like it was just too over the top,
And what was, forget about that for 1 second. Like, also, what was Ed thinking? Right? The guy is clearly coked out or drugged out or something. He's out of his mind. Okay, we're going to ground you. You're going to be on mission control. What are you doing putting him on mission control?
I agree.
You have enough people on there, and at the end of the day, the other staff is the one. The other guys are the guys who saved them anyway. Or by saved them, I mean,
That is our hallmark, Pete, is that this is exactly the scene that needs to be picked apart, and someone on that production team should have said, hold on. Let's just walk through this and see if this is at all realistic, right? So we're going to have Nick and coked out Danny stay, in the command base, right?
Yep.
And Nick is going to say, hey, I got to run some numbers. You handle this, right? And he's going to be just on the other side of the room and doesn't see anything flashing, nothing beeping, like just typing in his own little spreadsheet. And in this 30 seconds, that's when everything goes to hell. And Danny, paralyzed, can't even flick a switch and turns off the comms. Like, that whole scene to me was like, come on. And what is this? Like,
and you know how that could have worked out okay? Is if when he's picking up all the pills that he's been stealing, he finds Ed's stash of whatever he was injecting himself with.
Yeah.
And then he threatens to blackmail Ed, so which Ed says, fine, I'll put you on in the ground control mission center. You know, so he's just
good.
like, right? So he's like, he blackmails him to stay on the mission. He agrees, okay, fine, maybe I'm too coked out to be out there on the surface with you, but if you're not going to let me be a part of this mission, I'm going to out your drug usage to everybody on this station, and you're going to lose command of the entire thing.
Oh man, that's better. And it was just the whole thing, like the drill bits going too fast or hard or hot. Just someone flick this one switch that will add more, what was it? Compression or carbon dioxide
whatever
or something that will like.
Why is that in this there and not with them down there?
I totally agree. Like that whole thing could have been so much better. It even would have been better like if there would have been like an accident and Danny's responsible for like, you know, mobilizing the unit to pick them up. But like he's too coked out to like get there in time, right? Like there's so many other ways if you really need to get this addiction kind of like unreliability worked into the storyline, you could have. But the whole thing that like Nick's going to the other side of the room and the whole mission's gonna go bad unless this one switch gets turned at exactly the right time. Like, I just felt like that was just
and if you wanted to make it like, you know, a problem with the drill, I mean, look to Armageddon. They perfected that thing, right? Where they hit a gas pocket, they hit something. They did that right in that sense, you know.
I know. I mean, they're just drilling, and they're drilling for water. I mean, like, it could, I agree. They could have, like, lost the drill bit. It could, like, I felt just the whole thing was just too trite and too... another very good opportunity for some drama that I felt they just didn't make right, you know? Super disappointing to me. I put that in my notes. I just really didn't like that scene. And one of the things I didn't really like about that scene was I thought that made, I don't know where we're going to go after this, but I thought that made the show smaller and not bigger.
Yeah.
You know? Like there could have been a lot of different things. Like it could have, I mean, I like the idea of the earthquake, you know, like that's not a bad idea.
No, not at all. Very good, actually.
You know, like it could have like eaten some of their supplies, you know, like a bunch of their supplies could have fallen into like a ravine or a cliff or something. Like they could have lost a ship. They could have, a lot of different like things could have happened because they drilled and they never had experience drilling on Mars, the unstable land, you know, something like that. But I was really hoping that it wasn't going to be like an alien popped out. So I'm happy about that. But I just thought the overall thing like was really not very compelling. The whole thing went the wrong way. And I think there are a lot of different ways to write that to make things bigger and not smaller, you know?
The stuff on Mars was a little disappointing. But on the flip side, if you don't mind just changing gears a little bit, no pun intended, the White House stuff, that seems to be hotting up quite nicely, I must say.
How angry are you at Larry?
First of all, super angry at Larry. And second of all, I must say, kudos to you. I didn't think she'd be back. But who do we see at the end of the episode?
Pam.
That's right. You called it like 4, maybe 5 weeks ago. You called it. I was convinced we were done with her. But
Ellen and Larry have gone too long without sex that now they're starting to get like all hot and horny in the White House, right?
Yeah,
Larry's dating an intern. Larry is an idiot. And Ellen was exactly right. She's like, you couldn't wait even like one term? Like one term? And obviously Larry's boyfriend is an idiot as well, right?
Obviously.
What do you think is going to happen? I mean,
I just think it was silly. It's funny because there's so many parallels, I guess, to the Clinton administration that way, right?
Yeah.
You're racked with some kind of extramarital affair or something like that in there. I don't know. It's just, I liked the direction it's going. I also found it, and this could be an indictment maybe on where we are in terms of politics today. But I feel like the fact that he lied to the congressional committee about this, about something like this, today seems almost so inconsequential. Like, so what? I just felt like it wasn't that big a deal.
But what's the purpose of this storyline? Like, does this have legs? Are we turning into is For All Mankind now a political show? Like, if we're going down the path of this, And I'm not saying it's not a little bit compelling, but what is the purpose? I feel like we're starting to put in.
I think this is how we get Ellen out of office. I think what happens is this follows the Bill Clinton impeachment trial. I think Ellen gets impeached, or because she obviously is going to try to cover up this affair for Larry. And the only reason she's going to try to cover that up is because they're married. And I think what's going to happen is during this impeachment trial, I think she's just going to call it quits, because she's just going to be like, all the things that I've sacrificed, are they worth it? She's now meeting with Pam. I think there's going to be an element of, I choose love over politics, or I choose my real life and relationship and who I am. And I'm going to get out of politics. And I don't see her. I see her not surviving out of impeachment on her own terms, in the sense that she'll just be like, you know what? I'm going to take this as an opportunity to resign.
And then what? And then she's going to, what? Be appointed to the head of NASA? She's going to take over Helios?
That's the thing. I think out of all of them, Helios is the only place she can go.
Yeah.
She can't go back to NASA because NASA is still a governmental organization. And again, no matter how you are, whether you leave in disgrace or not, once you're president, you don't go back. You don't see presidents going back to being senators or governors.
No,
that's it.
And especially if you're forced out.
Oh yeah.
No one's going to say, well, now if you could just take over the most prominent agency we've got.
Exactly. It's the end of the track. It's the end of the track of the political track in the U.S. And it's not like in other countries where once you're out, you can still try to get back in. Once you're out, you're out. Once you're done, you're done. You're not, and you're certainly not going back to become like the transportation minister or, head of NASA. That's never going to happen, because that's a massive demotion. So the only real way this works is if she then replaces Dev at Helios. Either replaces Dev or Karen. The reality is that Dev, for me, I'm not seeing. He hasn't really done much, and the things that he hasn't been in
the last episode at all.
Exactly, and the things that he has done, not super compelling.
Can I workshop this off of you?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm not sure if I like the idea of Ellen now leaving under this bad cloud. First of all, she didn't have the affair; her husband did, right?
Yes.
So if it was flipped, right, and it was Bill Clinton didn't do anything wrong, it was Hillary who had an affair. Would this even be an issue? Right? It seems strange, like for
only
the spouse.
Only if Bill pulled out all the stops to protect his wife.
Yeah. So maybe that's where this goes. The flip side is, this is what I wanted to workshop. Is it better that we go down this path of an affair, which is just kind of like an ugly thing, right? Cheating on your wife, whether it's same sex or not, is kind of an ugly thing, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be kind of cool if if we would have gotten Margot out of NASA, and Ellen either, first of all, it should be Molly. We haven't seen Molly in a long time, but assume that Molly's like written off of this thing because she's blind. Put Larry in and say, Larry, I'm going to run NASA through you. You're qualified. You were there. Like, you need a job. Like, you manage it. And I'm just going to start to kind of like micromanage NASA through you. Would that be a more compelling storyline than Larry's boyfriend told someone over drinks and now he's going to get outed and blah, blah, blah?
Oh, you mean as not as a step forward, but instead of what's going on?
As an alternate. Yeah. If you really want Ellen involved, right? If you really want Ellen involved in space, which is where we're trying to go, right? We don't want to see her in the White House passing legislation. Yeah. We don't care about the jobs bill. We want her somehow involved in space. That's where this is going.
Yeah.
So why not use Larry as her proxy? And she says, hey, Larry, I noticed that you're sleeping with a lot of interns. Obviously, you need something to give you some direction or meaning in life. Margot's out because she's a spy. I'm going to put you as the head of NASA. And he starts to like reshape NASA into this cutthroat kind of privatized, entity that starts to like take on Helios, right? That, for me, that's a better show than going down the path of all this like kind of ugly, politically charged stuff.
I agree. I agree, but I think they've kind of written themselves into a corner. Maybe there's a grand plan that obviously there must be a grand plan because this is 7 series in, right? This is a 7 series arc.
Yeah.
We don't know where they are in this arc right now.
Yeah.
But if this hasn't been thought out as much as we'd hope it has, and I'd like to think that they have thought this out, only because generally speaking, on average, the show is better than most. I would say that if that's the case, then you still need to find a way to write her out of the presidency. Whether it's her retiring, whether it's her getting impeached, whether it's her, not retiring, resigning.
Yeah.
I didn't like the fact that she became president. I thought that was a wasted opportunity because, again, for a show that's ostensibly about space, why are we going to end up spending so much time in the White House? Agree. I think that at this stage, we really have to look at ways of getting her out of the White House.
Yeah. Yeah.
In order to go back to the show's roots.
But aren't we going backwards with Pam? I mean, Pam is a long time ago, right?
Oh, yeah. Certainly a long time ago at this point.
There's nothing really wrong with Pam, but I mean, she's not a natural beauty. She was a poet / kind of bartender. She's even dressed in like all these like sweaters now, the girl next door. Like, if that's the case, I'd prefer if like Ellen met someone like not a socialite, but like someone from industry, a CEO or someone, like, and it's like, hey, you're a strong woman, like you can do this, like meet your potential. Someone that pushed her a little bit, and Ellen's like, you know what? That is true. That's my passion. I've always loved aviation. I've always loved space. I can do this. I don't have to hide anymore. And with the help of that new girlfriend, she resigns and comes out and blah, 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 right? I mean, again, we need more people. We're going back in time, back to Pam. That relationship wasn't compelling at any point, was it?
Yeah, I didn't mind it. I don't know if it was compelling because I wasn't super bothered with Pam that way. But
because Pam was just the sidekick. It was always Ellen, the accomplished overachiever, right? Yeah. And Pam, the bartender. Oh, and now she started to do poetry. They made her.
I think Pam was important to her because Pam was also the one who kind of made her recognize that be true to yourself and being gay is fine, and we can still have this relationship. And it's almost kind of like your first love, for lack of a better argument.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that she's going to end up with Pam, but I think that she's going to. And by the way, we don't know. Maybe Pam's moved on. Maybe Pam's got a wife. Maybe Pam's got a husband. We don't know. We just literally saw her in the doorway, and they go in. That's it. We don't know where Pam is. Maybe Pam says, "Listen, I was a way station in your life. I'm glad you know who you are and figured out what you want, but I'm not a part of that plan anymore." In which case, she's just like, "Listen, I have my own life, and if you expected me to wait for you, well, grow up. That's not going to happen." Maybe that's one way to do it, but maybe Pam's, again, like how Pam was kind of like this kick-starting figure for her early on in her astronaut career for Ellen, she could be, again, she's like, listen, if you're found out, if you're resign or, if whatever, that doesn't change who you are as a person. Go out, live your best self, be your real self. And that's maybe when we get introduced to, a new girlfriend or a new wife or a new relationship element, something.
Yeah, let's see how it plays out. I'm just disappointed that we're looking back at Pam. I've been harping on this. I've been harping on this for so many episodes. Yeah. We need more people. No Gordo. No Trace. Right? We don't see Bill Strausser at all anymore. Right? Danielle has no lines. Molly is out. Kelly is worthless. Danny is crazy. Pam is way in the past. We're just losing people. And we're not focused on the few characters that we have. Who's the good guy that we cheer for? Ed? right? We don't see Dev at all. We don't see Karen at all.
Neither of whom we're cheering for.
Yeah.
Well, you maybe, but not me. But
I'm cheering for Karen. I mean, Ed is the closest thing we have to a hero. Maybe Alita. Maybe the show is about Alita, right? Margot is bad.
So I think that's naturally where we're going to go. I see Margot going. Look, we're now at a tipping point with Margot. Sergei is going back to Russia. She's not been able to help him. They even come right out and say it that she is no longer of any use to them because they've got their relationship and partnership with Helios now.
Yeah.
So Margot's kind of run her course for the Russians, and I'm pretty sure she's run her course for NASA too. Because by the end of that episode, and I thought that was wonderfully done, very subtle, where Alita finally figures it out, and you wanted to kind of like knock her about through the screen, like, come on, how can you not see this? But you see her staring at that picture, and she's like, okay, it's clearly Margot.
But do you think, just go a step back, do you think that Alita went in there, and she said it was Emma or Emily? I can't remember the lady's name. She said, hey, I figured it out. It's Emma or Emily, right?
I thought that was a fake out when she said that.
I thought it was as well. I thought it absolutely was as well because I thought she wanted to hear Margot deny it and just kind of see what her reaction was, because if Margot would have been like, yeah, it might be, like, she just wanted to see if she's going to throw her under the bus or what she was going to do, right? Yeah. And instead of Margot saying, oh, you found the person? That's great. Yeah. Let's wrap up this investigation and throw her under the bus. Margot was like, no way, not her, drop the whole thing. So I thought it was also a fake out.
Yeah, I thought that she was just trying to bait her to see what her reaction would be.
I agree.
Until it wasn't until that very end scene where you see her walk into the lobby and see the picture she puts two and two together, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is now where things get very dicey for Margot. And finally, I mean, it took 7 episodes. I was hoping this would have happened earlier. Fine.
But I do love the show, even though I complain about the storylines. But like, once again, I feel like this is really a missed opportunity. There's so many things they could have done with Margot. Maybe they still will, but like, she could have been like, oh my God, I'm going to be reported. Sergei, I'm coming with you to Russia.
Yeah.
Right? She could have gone to, the Russians could have recruited her. Sergei could have said, look, you're the best, Margot. You're going to be, you'll save my life. You won't face prosecution. Like, come with me to Russia. It's not so bad. Like, you love jazz music and vodka, and we'll bring your piano, the whole thing. Like, that would have been more compelling. Now she works for, the Russians.
Yeah.
Yes. Like, now, I don't know. I just kind of felt like that would have been a more compelling, something more could have been done here. And now, yes, Alita's going to kind of turn her in maybe, or maybe Margot takes out Alita.
I mean, I hope not, because between the two of them, I much prefer Alita to Margot.
Yeah, but actually that makes sense as I'm thinking out loud. Margot takes out Alita preemptively. Alita takes a job now, goes back to Karen and says, you know what? Bill got double his money. I'll take double my money as well. My dad's not in a good way. Like, I'll take the job, Karen.
By the way, I must have missed it, but wasn't she married to, what's his name, Javier? Did they get divorced? What happened there? I must have missed it.
No, it's not really clear, but it seems like they're separated.
Yeah, but weren't they married previously?
I don't know if it was...
Or maybe they weren't married. Maybe they were just very close and they had the kid together. I don't know.
I don't think we ever kind of got the full picture of if they were married or living together or what the deal was, but they were definitely together, and now it seems like they're definitely apart.
Yeah, right? And I think a lot of it had to do with her father being, whatever he
crazy.
Was.
Yeah. Old. Yeah, so... Maybe that would be interesting. I mean, Alita's not my favorite character, but I do admire that she's got a
tenacious streak,
yes.
Man. I like her.
And she's the only person, Margot's the only one who knows, but like, I admire that she's really like trying to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, I like that. She's the only one who I'm not saying she was being a detective, but she was the only one who was just like, listen, something smells rotten in Denmark, and she tried to figure it out.
Oh, is that what you say? In Denmark?
I think. I think that's the phrase, but yeah.
Let's use that.
So
Something smells rotten at NASA.
Yeah.
And it's coming from Margot's office.
And it should have been Margot who was leading. I think that's where, for Alita, she was getting confused. As someone like Margot wouldn't have tolerated that kind of behavior. Someone who's so straight-laced. And then all of a sudden, Margot's the one who's trying to sweep it under the rug.
Yeah. I really dislike Margot. Margot is my least liked person, I have to say.
No, I'm with you. I'm on Team Ethan with this. Margot needs to go.
Although I have to say, Danny is really frustrating me. I really want Danny to be the all-American hero. I want him to be. I don't like him as this crazy guy. You know, they've made him too unhinged. You know, and let's put it this way: the justification isn't there. He has a one-night stand with Karen. Yeah. And that sets him off for the rest of his life? Yeah. I mean, I don't understand. It's not like they never showed us that he was infatuated with her as a kid. They never showed there was no payoff that justified that, you know? But again, instead of making him crazy, they could have said, like, okay, it's over. But they've got like this really secret relationship that, you know, she's feeding him Helios information and he's feeding her. You know, they've got like this relationship, you know? It's not like sexual, it's not like physical, but like they've obviously got like this level of trust and like this separate side channel that no one would expect them to have, right? That's more interesting, that they're exchanging secrets between Helios and NASA, you know, because they trust each other. You know, but I like him more as the all-American, you know, perfect guy. I don't like him like neglecting his wife. I don't like him talking back to Ed. I don't like him. I did kind of like him kicking that plastic dog. I just don't like him being unhinged. Yeah.
This only works for me if we see a redemption arc for the Stevens family. I.e., he now goes down because you better believe he's going to pay for his actions in this next episode. One way or another, he's paying for it. And what's going to happen is, like, I think his brother, the idea that his brother then straightens up on that basis, you know, his brother who kind of idolizes him and sees that he's also going kind of crazy or fears that he may lose another family member in space, then he has to kind of save the day somehow, somewhere. That makes it okay, but I'm with you. I'm not. This whole creeper element, this voyeur element, it just seemed it didn't sit well for me, because it was fine when he was kind of just a little bit of a creepy voyeur, but now he's become a drug addict on top of a creepy voyeur, on top of someone who's neglecting his duty and might have led to the death of Ed. You know?
How would you feel if the next episode we see that this was the kick in the ass that Danny needed, and he's like, you know what? I've got to man up now. Ed is hurt. I've got to be the man of the house, so to speak. And he kicks it cold turkey, and he shaves his stubble, and he's like, okay, Nick, you do this, and you do this, and guys, we'll be okay. We're going to pull together. We're Helios. And he starts to be, you know, back to his all-American self.
How do
you feel about that?
I don't just see it. I don't like it, because that means that
it's too abrupt.
It's too abrupt, and there are no consequences for his bad behavior. Yeah. What I rather would see, and I think this becomes a lot more interesting now, is that NASA has to come and save the day for Helios, where Danielle comes in with her team. Kelly comes in, has a tearful reunion with her dad, who's like not on his deathbed, but is clearly hurt very badly. And she had that ridiculous fight with him for no reason on video chat. And what I think would be interesting would be that NASA is just like, listen, we all heard the seismic thing. You know, we saw that there was this earthquake. We know Ed is hurt. Danielle puts her feelings aside and says, no, I'm going to help you because Ed's still the guy who helped me out when all those years ago. And NASA comes in and saves the day. I think the other problem is that they didn't talk about it so much in this episode because it was more an episode of cooperation. But where is this Russian angle going as well? The Russians are now leaving NASA.
First, what are the odds that Ed dies? 0%, 50%? What do you think?
I would say in this next episode, less than 50%. At the end of this season, greater than 50%. Yeah. By the end of this season.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to either let him go.
He may have. Can I guess? I'm going to guess that he's got this bedridden role for a while.
Yep.
You know?
Where he's
that
kind
we're going
of
to
like
see him.
Yeah,
we're going to see him. Yep. I mean,
commanding from his armchair.
Yeah, I don't mean this. I'm going to say unfortunately. I don't mean it that way though. Like, unfortunately, like his legs didn't get crushed. You know, they just said he got shrapnel in the stomach, which is something that you could kind of like come back from, I guess. Right? Like either you die of internal injuries or you recover. Right? There's no kind of like, hey, he's still not walking.
But maybe he got hit in the liver and needs to get dialysis or something like that.
Yeah,
and that forces him to be bedridden.
Yes, but like for example, if like the drill tower would have like fallen on his legs.
Oh yeah, exactly.
I mean,
and they had to amputate or something like that.
You know, like that could be a thing where he's like, "Hey, I'm stuck in bed now for the next year. You know, I can't go out, I can't walk around. Like I've got to command just from my bed." And they kind of minimize his role there, right? Like that would be a way to kind of like not write him out, but like write him down.
Yep.
Yeah. But so I don't think he's going to die just because of the nature of his injury.
Oh no, I don't think he dies because of his injury. No. I think that, look, the way I look at it is that every season on a practical basis, on a filmmaking basis, every season has had like a 10 to 20 year jump.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, this TV series is going to catch up to us in our current time and beyond.
Oh, Pete, that's why I'm going to reiterate this complaint. We're not creating new people.
Enough people. I'm with you.
We've got, who are the young people? Crazy Danny.
Ridiculous Kelly.
Unremarkable Kelly. And Alida. That's it? That's it?
That's why what I was kind of hoping for was an in-season 2 or 3 year jump with an established moon colony with a fresh number of people coming in from Earth, from Mars, from Russia, from NASA, from Helios.
We didn't focus enough on any of the other people, right? From the Helios group, we know Nate. That's it, right?
Yeah.
Not at all compelling so far, right? We don't know anyone. Kelly and the gay guy, we don't know. Don't even know if we know his name.
Will something.
Yeah, like this is again the challenge that Karen's aged, okay, Ed's aged, Margot's aged, Ellen's aged, but are we gonna see them another 5 years older, 3 years older? Danielle's gonna age. Like, I'm really frustrated by the fact that we just haven't seen more people.
You know when would have been a great time for the time jump? Is when you see Ed and the Russian cosmonaut look over that massive valley and say, can you imagine what this is going to look like in 10 years when thousands of people are here? And then we fast forward to 10 years and there's all these habs and there's all these like buildings and all that would have been reasonable. And then you kind of, if you want to write Ed off, then you just be like, you know, the first man to colonize Mars and the first man to die on Mars of natural causes. Yeah. And you see his grave there and a plaque or something or another statue or something, you know?
Or, you know, you could have done it then when he's drilling water, right? You could have done this. This would have been the Bruce Willis in Armageddon scene, right? Like
exactly.
Ed, the drill bit's too hot. Get out of there. No way. We gotta get this water.
This is for all humanity. Yeah,
it's not gonna hold. No, tell my wife and kids I love them, right? And he doesn't. Well, he got Kelly, right? Like
yeah.
And then like you see this big explosion, and he dies, but without his heroic efforts, they never would have found that water in Mars and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
Let him go out like...
that water aquifer becomes a lake and they name it Lake Ed Baldwin, Lake Baldwin or something.
Like, I mean, that could have been maybe not just as dramatic, but on par kind of with Trace and Gordo.
Yeah.
You could have saw this guy saying, this is, like you said, this is for humanity. Like, we need it. Get out of here, Kelly. Get out of here, Danny. I got it, right? And he puts him in the something and presses go, and and
it becomes all the more tragic and dramatic because he doesn't know that Danny has betrayed him and has been such a jackass.
Yeah, and he misses the message from Karen saying, blah, 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 I love you, I can't wait until you come back. And right, like it could have been so emotional. Yes, and then you said this is going to be known as Lake Baldwin, forever everything would be built on Lake Baldwin, and yes, that would have been a wonderful season ending episode where they found water only through his, drilling efforts,
perseverance or whatever. I just find right now, I think the theme of the last two episodes has been missed opportunities.
Yes, I totally agree.
I think that, this, and again, the qualifier is there are 7 series of this. We're just past the halfway mark on the 3rd. Who knows where they're going and what direction they're going for series 4, 5, 6, and 7.
We're not developing talent.
But really, at this stage, yes, that should be your primary concern is, fine, assume you end season 3 with these characters. How do you justify the new characters you're going to introduce in season 4?
Yeah.
I still like the show, but like it's very, very dangerously teetering on the edge of a must subscribe to a watch or to a mooch.
But I'll tell you why this is my favorite show, Pete. This is my favorite show because I think of all the shows that we're watching, this is the one that has multiple compelling storylines to me.
Oh, yeah.
Margot, Ellen, maybe not Alita, she's somehow there. Danny, Ed, Karen, Helios, Russia. For me, this is the one that I think we talk about it the most because it's got the most different paths, right? I have to say, it's not my favorite outcome show. I don't actually love what's happening the most, but I love the show and I love talking about it because I think there's so many different things going on. Whereas if we talk about any of the other shows that we've seen, what did we talk about earlier today, right? We talked about Blackbird, right? There's one, maximum 2 storylines in there. Storyline 1, Jimmy and Larry have to be friends, right? Storyline 2, Greg Kinnear is kind of doing detective work, right? There's maybe story 3, there's a possible future relationship between Lauren Macaulay and Jimmy. Ray Liotta, big Jim Keen, like not really a lot of father stuff there. There's 1.5 storylines to follow. Great show. The Old Man, right? Which we talked about. We love Jeff Bridges. We love John Lithgow. There's one storyline there.
Yeah.
Maybe, there's a few twists and turns, but kind of one storyline. It's
just one story. Right? Yep. There's no other subplots.
Outer Range, which you didn't watch yet. There's, again, kind of like some little family drama, but there's really just one storyline. So those are great shows. I love them. They're must subscribes. But the reason that For All Mankind is my favorite is that I think it has the most different storylines and it has the most opportunities. But you and I have said this, and it's maybe the theme and maybe the name of this episode, which is we're not taking advantage of all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Whenever there's a disaster, you should take advantage of it and build it into something. Wherever it's a show. You're supposed to be making drama, right?
It's like having infinite Lego pieces and then making a square block.
I totally agree with you.
They're going very route one with everything so far. And in a show where they haven't gone route one before, this is a little bit annoying to watch. Again, we caveat this by saying we're 7 episodes in. There's 3 more to go. Things could change on a dime. And that this show has done that in the past where things have changed on a dime. And who knows, in 3 weeks from now, we could both be gushing about how amazing this ended. But right now, as we stand, I don't know where that path is that makes us get there.
I agree. I mean, this is a blank slate. I mean, we can write anything. Right now, Helios is not a compelling organization. Dev is not a compelling leader, right? That's just fact. Margot has not developed any single person that we can say by name except Alita. Can you name one other person in all of NASA? Right? The same thing on the
There's got to be a guy named Jim, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, the same thing. I mean, I don't know any single Russian person's name. Yeah, we know kind of that biologist who Kelly is having a relationship with. We don't really know anyone on the Helios team. Like, those are all, for me, missed opportunities that we could be, we could have so many different, like, new names and faces and be learning about them and have backstories and, right? We said it before. We should have someone else on Mars that beat them there, right? Remember that graphic that I sent to you? I can't even remember what it was, right? But it was...
Oh, it was a list of all the different countries that have space programs and when they develop them in the real world.
Exactly right. Yeah. So we've got, I'll read it off. 1957, Russia. 1958, US. 1965, France. We haven't heard diddly poo from France, right?
Or from anyone in the EU in general.
1971, the UK. 1970, Japan and China. 1980, India. Like, there's nothing here. And that's really too bad because those are all, missed opportunities that we could be making even more drama. Not happening.
Yeah, there's at least 3, maybe 4 nations on this list. Yeah. South Korea, Iran, India, Israel, anyone in the EU. If you added them to the mix, it would instantly elevate this to not just being a sci-fi show, but also a political thriller in space.
Yeah. It would also be cool if they, I have to say, they're so good at integrating real history with this alternative history. What if they'd create a company called Winsoft, right? And Winsoft is selling all these personal computers, right?
Yep.
And they've decided to challenge Helios, or they're not going to sell any more motherboards to Helios. They're going to do their own program. Like, there's also another...
Or we get, their version of Walmart to say, hey, we're going to, a la Amazon, right? A la Blue Origin. Walmart's founders say, hey, we're going to set up our own space agency.
Yeah. I mean, but I think that's the other thing that I think is missing is that they could have really made this like super, super cool. I love that they got Helios, which is 3, but still
maybe what they could have done was they could have had like government v. government on one side as a plot element and then 2 or 3 private agencies on the other side. And then they have to combine, all of them have to combine forces one way or another at the end. And then it becomes like one government and one private organization versus another government and one private organization. There's, again, as you said correctly, so many different ways they could have gone with this. And again, maybe they will. We don't know. But right now, where we're standing, it's not...
You could have also said, we could also flash back to the moon and be like, hey, while everyone's focused on Mars, hey, didn't you know China landed on the moon and actually they're taking all the resources now, right? We forgot to staff it up, like...
we haven't seen anything, or we haven't heard anything about Jamestown, because now all of a sudden the end game has become Mars.
Yeah.
But hey, we still have a base on the moon. Yeah. Anyway, look, it's a good show. It's still a must watch. It's still one of the best TV shows out there. I just think that, there are some opportunities that they're missing as of right now. Let's see how things play out over the next 3 weeks. And obviously we're going to come back for at least another hour-long episode next week about episode 8 as well.
Indeed. Shall we take a few minutes and just touch upon our other passions, being Westworld and Better Call Saul?
Yeah, let's take 5 minutes on each one. There's not really much to say on either. I think that's the nature of Westworld in general. I think you really get to see every series is, you get to see it unfurl towards the end of the series. You don't really get to know what's going on plot-wise from the beginning. They're slowly adding puzzle pieces here and there, and the image doesn't really become clear until maybe 3/4 of the way in.
Let me ask you just a general question. We know Aaron Paul from Breaking Bad, and now we've seen him in this new episode, or the new season of Westworld.
Yep.
What do you think, not just of his performance, but his presence? Because for me, like, his name is Caleb Nicholas.
Yeah.
For me, Aaron Paul is always the guy from Breaking Bad. I cannot look at him and believe that his name is Caleb. It doesn't fit for me. I know him too well. He was too iconic as Jesse Pinkman.
I really like Aaron Paul. I think he's a great actor. I think he's done a lot of good work. But I think that outside of Breaking Bad, he hasn't had much success. So, he's tried his hand at a few other movies. I think most famously he did Need for Speed, and it turned out to not be a good movie, and not his fault. The movie itself was quite terrible. So I haven't seen him in much thereafter. And so I'm very happy to see him in Westworld, even if, yes, of course, you think of him as Jesse Pinkman first. I'm just happy to see him working, and I'm happy to see him doing something that he's not bad in. I think he's quite convincing as this ex-military soldier guy who's working for/with Maeve.
It's probably worth also like another episode where, there are some people that are so iconic.
Yeah, they've kind of been typecast. Yeah,
that it's really hard to look at them. It's a blessing and a curse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Bob Odenkirk, right? I thought did a great job in this show, because we've seen him kind of as Jimmy McGill, and you believed him as Jimmy McGill, right?
Yeah. Or Saul Goodman, as it is now.
Yeah. Now he's Saul Goodman, right? But there's a few folks that have just been so iconic in their role that it's hard to see them in anything else. And there's a few people, like Ed Harris. Ed Harris has been in so many different things, right? But I can't say, what do you really see Ed Harris as? There's not like a single...
I kind of see him as this generic army leader bad guy.
Bad guy, right?
And that's not taking away from Ed Harris, by the way. He's an excellent actor.
Yes.
It's just that he generally gets typecast as a senior, some kind of law enforcement or army guy who tends to not be the best of guys. But yeah, Westworld, I'm really enjoying it. I don't know if you're caught up with it or not.
I am, and I think this season is better than season 3.
So far, I would agree with you.
Because now I felt season 3 didn't really have it was just kind of going in circles, and I didn't find that there was like a point, right? Season 4, like, there's a very clear, I don't know if it's good versus evil, but you see the two factions and what they're trying to do. And what I also love is that the timelines are not parallel.
Yeah, what a great twist that was at the end of that episode, where we get the reveal that Bernard has been what we thought was in the current timeline. He has been in the current, but what we thought was actually current was in the past, right?
Yeah,
with Maeve and Caleb and all of them.
I love Luke's Hemsworth. I'm gonna have the world's best roast beef sandwich. You'll settle for the tuna.
Yeah.
He's like, is it possible that you're getting weirder?
Yeah.
She goes, oh, we all have that. He goes, I guess I'll settle for the tuna.
Yeah.
I think that's the humor that, is laugh out loud funny to me. And it's not really intended to be like slapstick funny. It's just very clever, right? But I thought that Luke Hemsworth plays that role like very, very well.
He plays that straight man very good.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think that in general, I don't have much to say about Westworld at this stage. I would agree with you. I think it's on track to be better than season 3.
Yeah.
I think that the early season twist was very, very well executed. Not something I anticipated at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking forward to seeing more of it. I will say I was frustrated after seeing the first 2 or 3 episodes, but then the 4th episode really got me. And that's all I really have to say.
I think the same thing. I think for both probably Westworld and Better Call Saul, these are more mature, right? They're in their 4th and 6th seasons respectively. And I think that means we kind of know all the characters. No one else is really being introduced. Like we're familiar with everybody. We understand the plot, where it's going. I think Better Call Saul, we're just waiting for the payoff, right? Is we've kind of seen, the migration of Jimmy McGill to Saul Goodman.
Well, and we're now firmly in the Breaking Bad timeline now.
Yep. We've seen the arc of Kim Wexler. We've kind of seen, how Gus Fring has, made himself, so I think all the big questions have been answered, except, what happens to Saul,
Yeah, I'm really happy with what's happened with Kim. It feels like a very organic and nice ending, and I say that because it was bittersweet. Again, as we all know, I love Kim Wexler. I love Rhea Seehorn. I thought she was excellent. I'm glad she doesn't die. I'm glad she isn't in witness protection. She voluntarily says, listen, we have to break up. This is not doing either of us any good.
Yeah. What about Howard's wife? Remember when they went to the law firm and they kind of had
I felt this, we got to see bits and glimpses of Howard's wife in the first few episodes, where you can see that marriage was already on the rocks. She's ignoring him. So it's like all of a sudden to have this kind of concern, to me, came out of left field. I wasn't very keen on her. She's ignoring him. He's trying to salvage the marriage. She's not bothered with trying to salvage it. And then all of a sudden, she's, concerned. I wasn't, impressed with that.
So we've got a lot of stuff coming up. Catch up on Westworld, catch up on Better Call Saul. Always watch For All Mankind. And next week, should we do our homework now? Or our extra credit? Should we decide?
Yeah, let's do that. I think that might be interesting. Yeah. Let me get my random number generator.
We need the random number generator. And I need to remind myself what my list is that we're choosing from, right?
I've got it here.
I am number 4. All right, what's 4?
Number 4 for you is... Wait for it.
The Staircase.
That's right, on HBO Max.
All right. Fine.
And
what do you have?
Night Flyers on Netflix. So, listeners, I will be watching the first 2 or 3 episodes of Night Flyers on Netflix, while Ethan will be watching the first 2 or 3 episodes of The Staircase on HBO Max.
There's something interesting since we have time. We have unlimited time. Not sure if the listeners do.
That is how this works.
HBO has a pretty high hit rate or success rate for the few numbers of original shows that they have, yeah? Whereas the Netflix library or catalog is much deeper, but I feel like they don't have as many huge hit series as HBO. You feel that? When I think of Netflix, I mean, everyone talks about Stranger Things, which neither of us have watched, surprisingly.
Oh, no, I have. I'm
really?
Oh, yeah, I loved it. I remember I was trying to convince you to watch it.
Would I like it?
I don't know. I think there are certain elements of it that you would relate to in terms of nostalgia from the 80s and, but I'm not 100% sure, which is why I walked back my recommendation of Stranger Things, but did push forward my recommendation of Umbrella Academy.
See, I mean, Umbrella Academy is, if I could go back in time, I would absolutely binge that second season, especially the second season, all over again. I thought it was just fantastic. I cannot say enough good things about Umbrella Academy. But I agree, I'm not sure about Stranger Things, although to be honest, I don't know enough about it to say why I may not be interested in it.
I think it's because you're not as much of a tabletop gamer as I am. And I think that's really especially for season 1, that's really a lot of the foundation and underpinnings of Stranger Things comes down to tabletop gaming, and in particular, Dungeons and Dragons. So if you're not, you don't have to be well versed in it at all because the relationships are that plausible and realistic, but it helps a lot to get you in.
What would be your second favorite tabletop game after Dungeons and Dragons?
It could be anything. Maybe Risk. Maybe.
Oh yeah, love
Risk. I don't know. Monopoly.
Does Monopoly counts?
Yeah. Anything you play together as a group. That's the beauty of tabletop gaming. Isn't that it's just RPGs? It's anything that you literally play with friends as a board game in front of everyone.
What's this popular German game where you build walls and bridges and roads and stuff? You know what this is called?
Settlers of Catan?
Yes.
That's the one. I love that game too. Wonderful.
I love Settlers of Catan.
That's great.
Is it on Xbox yet?
Probably.
I thought it was announced it was coming on Xbox and then not on Xbox yet.
Settlers of Catan?
Yeah.
That's such an old game. I'm sure it's probably on Xbox. It's everywhere else already. It's on Switch. It's on iPads. It's everywhere.
We also need an episode where we identify what our new games are, right?
Yeah, I think that might be a valuable service announcement. We should try to figure out what our game is. So, listeners, just to let you know, Ethan and I are thinking of starting our own Twitch stream kind of thing where we...
Yeah, we should.
We're playing a game online with each other. We're streaming it. We're chit-chatting about, TV, about movies, about anything while we're gaming. And, it's something that's kind of like a community event, and you guys can join us on stream. You can talk with us. You can ask us questions. You can tell us what you agree with or disagree with. You can give us recommendations, not just for shows, but also for games.
I agree. I mean, I think you and I are not going to do Minecraft, Fortnite, League of Legends, Apex, Valorant, any of those. But we should find our game because we both use console. You do more PC gaming than I do.
I do both, but yes, generally I prefer PC to console, but I've got both, so that's fine.
All right.
So yeah, if you guys have any recommendations, let us know. We're open to the idea.
All right, let's give it some thought. We'll come up with something, I'm sure.
All right, perfect. Well, that's it for this week.
All listeners, catch us on YouTube channel. We've got a new logo or background.
Reach out to us, aloha@filmsandstuffpodcast.com, or tweet at us at F&S Podcast. Let us know what you're thinking. We're here. We want to hear from you. Tell us what we're doing right. Tell us what we're doing wrong. we're happy to always chat.
And have a great day ahead and a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Films and Stuff. If you haven't already, please subscribe and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever podcasts are downloaded. Films and Stuff. There is no substitute.